medicine shortage in Parliament debate. Butuka students preparing to welcome Chinese president. And Rugby League referee graduates in lay.
This is the National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us for Friday's news. It has been an interesting week with the debates over medicine shortages in clinics ending up in Parliament. Earlier, nurses upset over the shortages vented on the media. One broke down in tears. A senior doctor also spoke out, calling for government intervention, and the health minister was blasted on social media over the problem. Also drawing attention to the issue was the Ijivitari MP Richard Masere, who had to be airlifted to Port Moresby because hospitals and clinics in Popondetta didn't have malaria drugs. Scott Wydale looks back at an eventful week of medicine shortages.
2 weeks ago, a senior doctor who works at Lay's Angau Hospital added to the long list of health professionals who are pointing out the obvious.
We need drugs.
Dr. Lincoln Mender has served in the public health system for 36 years and is one of the most senior health professionals to speak out about the medicine shortages.
We are not able to provide. We are now prescribing, giving prescriptions to all our clients to buy it from the private sector. And we are passing the buck back.
His primary job, whenever there's money, is to visit the clinics all over the Moresby province and to treat and refer people with serious medical problems to the main hospitals. He hasn't been able to do his job well.
So many are dying from preventable illnesses that could be managed and prevented if we had the right drugs.
2 weeks ago, Dr. Mender was at the Milford Haven Clinic, one of 7 urban clinics facing a dire shortage of medicines and other supplies. In the clinic's dispensary, the shelves were at the time void of much-needed basic supplies. On the list provided by the officer in charge, he noted that antibiotics, painkillers, even anti-malarial drugs were in short supply. Dr. Mender wasn't the only one to speak out. Nurses who are at the front line of health service delivery also spoke out about the shortages.
Now make that run out. It's like
the situation has also taken a personal toll on health staff. Unable to handle patient numbers and unable to adequately treat those in need, one senior nurse broke down in the middle of an interview. Now, over the course of the month, the health department and the health minister didn't respond adequately to the concerns. And this was partly because those at the top of the health pyramid, the minister included, weren't well informed of the situation on the ground. And it took a week of intense media attention before the health minister finally responded with a statement, first outside of Parliament. The minister's statement came only after a shipment of drugs was sent to Lay a day before EMTV took these pictures at the area medical store in Lay. We were not allowed to film inside the area medical store. The store manager told us we had to get permission from the health secretary before any information could be released. They also wouldn't tell us when the shipment of medicines arrived. As nurses and medical professionals continued to speak out, and while much of the focus was on Lay, it was increasingly becoming obvious that the shortages were affecting nearly everyone, including members of Parliament.
I was struck down by malaria, and I tried to source anti-malarial drugs from both the district hospital and the provincial hospital, and unfortunately there were no drugs available to treat malaria.
So Pukatemu responded again, this time in Parliament.
I'm very, very happy actually as Minister for Health that the social media is informing me earlier and all the time, which is
The lengthy explanation also highlighted the fact that they wouldn't have known about it if the media had not highlighted it, and that poor internal communications, a shortage of manpower and theft were contributing factors to the medicine shortages.
The media that the fact that the facility has run out of drugs doesn't mean that we have run out in the country.
Now, any serious journalist in Papua New Guinea seeking answers from the health department knows that it's quite difficult getting a response from the health secretary. Also, maybe, just maybe, It would help the public health system if a lot more members of parliament actually used the public health system. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Ley.
Health function grants are now being directed to respective provincial health authorities in different parts of the country. A recent 3-day workshop on the consultation review of PNG health laws brought about debates on functional grants and health financing in the country.
Health function grants are now being released to respective provincial health authorities to assist in efficient delivery of health services in the provinces. The grants are an essential part of service delivery of provincial health services in the country and are released by the Department of Treasury through the issuing of warrants. Health Secretary Pasco Kase says that the grants are a favorable arrangement.
The health function grants arrangements are quite a good arrangement. They actually sets the actual cost of service delivery in a province.
Previously, provincial health authorities had to receive health grants through their own provincial government, which caused delays in the progress of service delivery. The Secretary has explained that there are some provinces which have the capacity to financially sustain their functions.
We find that there are some provinces that they have a lot of financial capacity to raise their own monies, and so a lot of monies really have to come from the internal revenues that are raised by provincial governments, while we find that some levels of health function grants are now being paid directly to the provincial health authorities, which is a good thing that we have been wanting for a long time. That one of the complaints that we are receiving from our provincial health authorities that the health function grants are transmitted to provincial governments, and at times they don't get transmitted to the provincial health authority, and that's caused a problem.
Secretary Kase adds that although there are some provincial governments paying internal revenue to provincial health authorities to carry out health services, there are also other provincial governments that are not giving part of their internal revenue. The consultation review on health laws had provided health partners, stakeholders, CEOs of health facilities and others to discuss and make decisions based on the best interest of the people. Elizabeth Guka, National EMTV News.
13 suspects of a continuous armed hold-up at the Ambua Gap in the Komo Magarima electorate in Hela province were arrested this morning at 4 o'clock by a joint security force. The Ambua section of the main highway road into Tari town is a notorious place where drivers always take precautions when driving through. Hela Provincial Police Commander Martin Lakari says police and the PNG Defence Force will patrol the area and more arrests will be made in the coming days. The suspects were attempting to hold up vehicles this morning when the joint security forces approached them. 12 were arrested and another suspect holding an AR-15 rifle escaped. PPC Lakari said another hardcore criminal by the name of Henry Hewape Awi was arrested and charged also for armed robbery. The suspects have all been brought to Tari Police Station CID section. Meanwhile, Tommy Baker, the most wanted criminal in the southern region, was seen in Alatau, Milne Bay province. Baker, who escaped from correctional service custody in October at the Port Moresby General Hospital, is wanted for a string of criminal activities, including sea piracy cases resulting in murder. Police Commissioner Gary Baki made this comment when responding to questions on the car accident that claimed the lives of 3 people in Alatau. Meanwhile, the situation in Alatau is back to normal after police officers in the province held talks with the relatives of the victims. During a protest in town, the families of the victims demanded that police arrest and charge the policeman involved. He will be formally arrested and charged after formal investigations are completed. Acting Provincial Police Commander George Bayagao said the victims' relatives staged a protest march in town, resulting in the closure of businesses. However, as of yesterday, business houses commenced normal operations with police maintaining a presence. The policeman involved ran off the road in a hire car, killing a 39-year-old mother, her 5-year-old child, while 2 others sustained injuries at Kwaini on the outskirts of Alatau town. Butuka province has come on board to embrace traffic laws. An agreement was signed today between the Road Traffic Authority and the Butuka provincial government for the delegation of powers from RTA to the provincial administration to implement the 2014 Road Act. Butuka Governor Dr. William Tongup inked the deal with RTA Chief Executive Nelson Terama in both Moresby this afternoon.
They don't understand this because when we don't have any contractual agreement.
It was a small but very significant event for the people of Butuka. The Butuka provincial government is now collaborating with RTA to implement the 2014 Road Act and other traffic policies. RTA Chief Executive Nelson Terama says the 2014 Road Traffic Act is effective and provincial governments must come on board. He says it is vital other provinces must partner with RTA.
Under this agreement, RTA will delegate the same functions back to the provinces, so the provinces will continue to perform these functions to basically to generate revenue for the province, and at the same time to provide a very effective land transport service in the province.
The 2014 Road Act is effective as of June 1st, 2018. A workshop held by RTA this week discussed ways how provincial administrations will work together with RTA to implement the Act and improve transport services.
This is a sign of us being working together as partners to provide land transport services in Butuka.
The signing enables RTA to endow powers within the Act to regulate the laws of traffic in Butuka. Governor Tongup says the province is along the Highlands Highway and needs support.
We also aware of the new Act and we will fully comply with it. At the same time, as a new province, we will be needing a lot of assistance from your office and the ministry. So from time to time, we will be in close consultation. And we are also happy that we're one of the first top 4 or 5 provinces to sign on to the new Road Traffic Authority.
Jack Lopava Jr., National EMTV News.
This is National EMTV News. Stay tuned. We have a lot more in store for you from today's news. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. With the expected influx of visitors to Port Moresby for the APEC Leaders Week, one hotel is all geared up and prepared for this challenge. Holiday Inn Hotel Marketing Manager Michael Boyasi says the next 4 days will be busy as they will accommodate the APEC delegates. MTV's cadet journalist Rosemary Yambune reports.
Michael Boyasi says as a leading hotel service provider, it is a good experience for the hotel staff to communicate with customers from different countries during this APEC period.
It's exciting to welcome international guests, and it's also been an eye-opener and a great experience for our local staff to experience our guests from Chinese Taipei, United States, America, Malaysia, Brunei, and exchange some cultural experiences. Like they come in and talk to our staff about their backgrounds, and our staff are dressed in a traditional gear to greet them at reception, to give them some of the PG flavour also. So overall, it's been fantastic, and we can't put any flaws on it.
For the Holiday Inn, in-house security will be on call 24/7 during this peak period.
Without going into too much detail, obviously we have our own in-house security that work here 24 hours a day. On top of that, for APEC specifically, there'll be Australian Federal Police, New Zealand Police involved, and the local police involved on top of that. So there'll be multi-layer security involved to make sure our delegates are protected safe and have a great experience. But it's going to be seamless, so they'll be tucked away in key locations and keeping an eye on the environment in general to make sure nothing happens to them that's untoward. And hopefully they'll leave with a fantastic experience of Papua New Guinea.
Some APEC delegates have already arrived, and Boyasi says the guests are fitting in well and should find time to relax and unwind after the APEC summit.
The difference between us and other hotels here, which are obviously comparable, is we've got a beautiful green space, as you can see out here. So it's more of a resort feel, and they can feel more relaxed here, wear their shorts and thongs and come out into the Gecko Bar and have a nice quiet drink. Where other hotels, which are also nice, but it's a concrete building, and there's always a expectation of always formal, and you can't wind down. So the difference between us and other hotels, they can relax a bit more. So we hope they'll come in. Obviously, they're going to be busy with their meetings. They're here for a specific reason. And after they finish their meetings, after a long day in and out of discussions, they can come in, wear their casual clothes, come out to the garden area, which is a beautiful breeze behind us, and just relax and unwind after a hectic day.
As an added incentive, Holiday Inn will also be offering tours within Port Moresby for guests who have extra time. However, the APEC delegates may not have enough time given their hectic schedules. Rosemary Yambune, National EMTV News.
China's President Xi Jinping will be in the country for the APEC Leaders Summit and will be opening the new Butuka Academy, only one of China's many gifts to PNG. A model school for Papua New Guinea with state-of-the-art facilities. Butuka Primary School still exists, but the students have been split up into two different schools, and they're anticipating the new school opening next week.
From a primary school, it has been turned into a school that will cater for preschool, primary and high school, all the way to grade 12. Butuka Academy is a marvel and envy for most schools and residents in Port Moresby. A shining example of what a modern-day educational institution would look like if it were in a developed country, fitted with new buildings, infrastructure and recreational facilities. Located in Moresby South, it will cater for students in the prioritized areas surrounding the school: Sabama, Kirakira Village, Horse Camp, Mahuru and Kokeva. But what about the old Butuka Primary School? Well, it got demolished to make way for the Butuka Academy, and students scattered in two schools, elementary and grades 5, 3 and 8 are sharing the school grounds with Kila Kila Primary School, and grades 6 and 7 are at Koki Primary School. Two different uniforms in one school. That caught the attention of Kila Kila Primary. The white and brown are the Butuka students, while the yellow and brown are Kila Kila students.
We are sharing the same institution, Kila Kila Primary School. Butuka Primary School is a level 7 school, so is Kila Kila Primary School.
The students are raring to return back to their school, both staff and teachers, which has changed so much in the 1.5 year they had left it.
By next week, November 16, 2018, our school will be open. Teachers and students from Butuka who are at Kila Kila now, they will move back, and then we will, the president will come and open the school.
The students are even going to the extent of learning a Chinese song, which Principal Matthew Agu says the students will sing when the most influential leader in the Pacific comes to open the school. He added that the Butuka students have forged a strong bond with the Kila Kila students as they anticipate their world-class school.
The buildings, the classrooms, the grounds, playgrounds, facilities that the school has, we set them together. And to our acknowledgement, in appreciation, that thanking that we are giving to Kila Kila Primary School is beyond what I can say.
The two schools may be separated with uniforms, but they have shared the hardships of government-run schools in the country, with splitting the cost of utility bills being the main one.
Anything that they ran short, we were there to assist them. Like power bills, we are paying, we are counterpart in power bills, water bills, anything like toilet maintenance.
Fidelis Sukina, National EMTV News.
Early childhood learning is the most important step towards a child's learning development. Here in PNG, there is an enormous need for educational programs for children in villages. Longtime Madang resident Mrs. Maureen Hill recognized this need and spent most of her life in PNG teaching.
Program to make sure. Maureen Hill came to PNG in 1969 and has since lived in Madang with her husband until her husband passed away. Seeing the need for educational programs for many Papua New Guinean children, a love for teaching grew. She established her first early children learning center known as Maureen Hill Nursery School.
And there used to be a childcare centre across the road, and they asked me to look after it. And so I got my own license, and it's licensed for 50 children, and that's been my life here, and I love it, yes. I saw an enormous need for an education program for children in villages. Now, I grew up on an island off the coast of New Zealand, and I did my schooling round a kitchen table. My mum taught us. So I learned how to do things, you know, like I felt also not only early childhood education but also early health.
Apart from teaching early learners to read and write, they are also taught respect, honesty and non-violence. Seeing the need for early learning, she would like to see more early learning schools in Madang. But she says teachers need more skills and patience to deal with school. Violence and anger towards children is not acceptable.
I would like to see several schools like this in the town, but it seems that people can't do it, you know. I've had one or two teachers come to help or work with me, and I've found that the way they cross children and things like that is not acceptable to me. Yeah.
She who goes out of her way to do whatever she can do to help others in need has lent her and her late husband several awards. The awards are for their active involvement in several charity and community service organizations in Madang and abroad. Martha Louise, National EMTV News, Madang.
Schools in the country have taken part in the 8th annual Go Green School Cleanup Campaign, an initiative of the Bank South Pacific. The campaign encourages students about environment cleaning and recycling. The program was launched today at the Kila Kila Primary School in Port Moresby.
Keeping the school environment clean by picking up rubbish, recycling and landscaping to beautify schools is the main aim of the Bank South Pacific Go Green program for schools. Initiated in 2010, the project saw 250 schools across the country participating in cleanup activities. But the story doesn't end there. 60 schools in the Pacific where BSP operates also took part today.
The main aim of the program is to educate students about the environment, ways to take care of it, also about sustainability, how we can improve the cleanliness of the community, hygiene. All of those things come under our Go Green campaign.
The annual Go Green School Cleanup for 2018 was launched at Kila Kila Primary, a winner of the inaugural school beautification program.
What they did was they landscaped the school, they made the gardens look nice, they put a few stones around it, did actual landscaping, so we saw it fit to award them the first prize.
The school is trying its best to maintain the school's outlook after winning this year, and students have that upbeat attitude towards beautifying the school.
So after that, I think it was a new step for the school and the community to go another step by having a good beautification in the school.
The school itself has had help with its beautification program, with landscaping done by nearby local contractors that worked in the road upgrade at the Kaugere area.
Like landscaping and drainage, and all this is being supported by the supportive companies like Hebo and DNC and AES.
Fidelis Sukina, National EMTV News.
Wagoneer Christian College is now a recognized secondary school in the country. This was mentioned by the school principal Abakura Kalpa yesterday during the school's 4th grade 10 and 2nd grade 12 graduations. Mr. Kalpa confirmed that the Education Department formally registered this school last month as a permitted private school in secondary education.
The Education Department allocated 1.5 million kina to Wagoneer Christian Academy for the building of a new science lab. The department also donated equipment for it.
And now national government, they gave us science lab worth of 1.5 million. So on my left hand side. And another on science kit worth of more than 1 million on the other side. These are some of the things given to us by the national government and education department. So that means that education department, national government, they are committed to Wagoneer Christian College.
Most of the students enrolled in grade 9 and 11 are those whose performance in grade 10 and 12 examinations do not meet the GPA set by the education department. Wagoneer Christian Academy is the University of Goroka's Southern Regional Campus in its hub to support the students who do not get into tertiary institutions. The school also looks forward to sending 20 students to China next year. They also have plans in place to bring in other institutions into the campus to assist their students to further their studies after secondary education.
These facilities, and there are others the school is planning. We will continue to improve our facilities, and we will try to provide the best in education services to our students, to our children of Papua New Guinea.
Michelle Awamoromoro, National EMTV News.
Now to a story about Francis Stephen, the director of Ecotourism Consultancy Services. He says he is proud of how far he has come in teaching ordinary Papua New Guineans to make money through small to medium enterprises. This will be his 11th year in carrying out various workshops with prisoners in at least 5 jails in the country. Stephen funds his own projects and works with locals at the village level to improve little projects like establishing piggeries or investing in cocoa farming. In a recent meeting with the acting correctional commissioner, the CS department was pleased with Stephen's program as it was aware of rehabilitating inmates.
We're pushing this showcase long partnership with them, loan of that sector, long making sure that all the banis karabus almost all man cameras almost fighting kundo, almost moving below, almost working sample work where tourism will be the major APEC project where we have to capture not rubble tasol a lot of tasol we be tasol we block that we block custom stuff.
Cacao project, chicken farm or fish piggery oman mibla double mogo the something stuff one bla man can double mo 3 bla 4 bla something na mibla thing was this la help mibla but mibla killing mibla na mibla no help mibla but this la workshop come up and so mibla was mibla must target the one plus something na in up him thinking mibla must come up. So
this is Friday's news. Return overseas after these messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Fear and grief are once again gripping the United States after another mass shooting. The lone gunman, a former U.S. Marine, opened fire on a packed bar in Southern California. He killed 12 people, including a responding police officer, before turning the gun on himself.
Gunshots in a city ranked one of America's safest. The injured rushing away as emergency services race in.
We got multiple people down. We need a lot of ambulance.
The bar was packed with hundreds of young people enjoying country music and dancing before the shooting started.
He shot the front doorman, bouncer, just a young man, and he shot the cashier. Just a young girl.
And then we heard more gunshots, and then these incredible humans just jumped up and started smashing out the windows, and everybody was just like, jump, because we were trapped. We were completely trapped on that side, and so we jumped 2 stories down to the ground.
Among those who didn't escape, 22-year-old Cody Kaufman. His father last spoke to him as he was heading to the bar.
Last thing I said was, son, I love you. That was the last thing I said.
Sergeant Ron Hillis was nearby and on the phone to his wife when he got the call. He told her he loved her, then ran into the building, taking on the gunman.
The officer down, advised
advise if it's CHP at the borderline, officer down.
I watched an officer get shot in front of me, and I had to help drag him and throw him into the back of the cop car.
He was shot several times, dying later in hospital. As his body was escorted away, people lined roads and bridges to honour him. The gunman was a local resident, 28-year-old Ian David Long, a former US Marine who served in Afghanistan. Long was cleared by mental health officials earlier this year after police found him acting irate and irrationally at his home.
Felt he might be suffering from PTSD, facing the fact he was a veteran and had been on the court.
Police say he used a Glock handgun with an extended clip for more firepower, which is illegal in California.
We believe he shot himself. When the officers went in and made re-entry, they found him already deceased.
The White House flag is again flying at half-mast tonight, and after their victory in the midterms, pressure is coming on to Democratic lawmakers to take action on gun control.
This doesn't happen anywhere else on planet Earth, and we can't allow this to be normalized.
But the fear of mass shootings is America's new normal, even now in its safest of cities.
Prince Harry's father, Prince Charles, says he'll stop speaking on controversial topics when he becomes king. In a BBC documentary marking his 70th birthday, the Prince of Wales says he'll have to scale back his campaigning on issues like the environment due to strict constitutional rules placed on the monarch.
In the BBC documentary, Charles is asked about his so-called meddling as Prince of Wales. He says he regards it as motivating people to take an interest in things like the inner cities and the environment. And then he draws this vital distinction between the role of Prince of Wales and the role of King.
The two situations are completely different. Clearly, I won't be able to do the same things I've done, as heir. So, of course, you operate within the constitutional parameters.
People have expressed worries about whether this involvement will continue in the same way.
No, it won't. I'm not that stupid. I do realise that it is a separate exercise being sovereign.
That undertaking, to abide by the constitutional parameters when he's king, is significant. It should mean an end to the sometimes controversial public speeches he's made over the years. On architecture, for example, his description in 1984 of a planned extension to the National Gallery as a monstrous carbuncle is just one of his interventions on building design which have irritated some. More recently, his speeches opposing genetically modified crops placed him in opposition to government policy. On other matters, such as his passionate defence of the environment, he's often said to have been ahead of his time. But once he becomes king, all public campaigning will have to stop. That is the future Charles has always known will be his. His wife says he's relaxed about it.
His destiny will come. He's always known it's going to come. And I don't think it does weigh on his shoulders at all.
Slowly but surely, the way is being prepared for the moment, perhaps still some years away, when Charles is king and the United Kingdom has a new head of state.
National EMTV News will be back with some sporting action in Chukai Sports. Don't go away.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. Almost 400 grade 12 students from Lay Secondary School graduated yesterday. 19-year-old rugby league referee Max Tapani was one of them. Tapani began refereeing the schoolboys rugby league in Lay when he was in grade 8. He was then selected to officiate at an international rugby league game in Townsville in June this year.
Max Simon Tapani was recognized as a registered rugby league referee in 2015 after completing a course in Lay that was headed by Australia's international referee Steve Hamilton. In June this year, Tapani was selected to officiate at the Confraternity Rugby League Carnival in Queensland, Australia. He graduated with his grade 12 certificate along with over 390 students of Lay Secondary School yesterday.
Last year, we've been coming, been recognizing me from the local leagues 2 years, 2015 when I doing grade 9 Lesek, working Tatsi, that's when me recognize me, working Digital Cup, Tatsi 2015 and 16. From there, looking in, also me alright, taking up games, so last year, first year swing full season mixing the game no lay it must be some. So that's me I've been anime Samamas from recognized Australian referee Sakam course all the games. So this year in June first international debut in Migrant Australia taking up Queensland school championship. I'm like Amamas since that so the travel overseas and taking up game. It's some before senior referee Lumdao been Goran like Tony Kuni Narapla referee and staff at Moses Tolingling all been Goran Queensland running on Kuikav. So but look Mipa Goran some Igatol Narapla referee staff but SME some we are like youngest in the country is recognized just 19 and Migoran like privileged.
This 19-year-old young man from Manly in Southern Highlands began officiating schoolboys rugby league games in Lae when he was 14 years old. Max Tapani says while many young men were interested in playing rugby league, he was interested in refereeing the game.
Film league gan lol players but this la name me carame big player then lol players gan that making boost me so become me control him running game at la yeah.
Tapani thanked his school principal Christopher Raymond and his teacher and mentor Danny Smile for supporting him in his academic performances and sports career. Julie Badui Owa, National MTV Sports, Lae.
The PNG National Rugby League competition has again received backing from platinum sponsor SB Brewery. SB Brewery has supported the competition for many years and has given another 650,000 kina for the 2019 season.
SB Brewery has spent millions of kina on rugby league, not only sponsoring the Intercity Cup competition, but the SB Hunters team and other rugby league competitions. SB has been part of the rugby league fraternity for more than 10 years. They have showed their support again in supporting the code by becoming platinum sponsors to the PNG NRLC.
A national company in Papua New Guinea that operates across the country relish the opportunity to work with partners in the different provinces to try and share with them our experiences and our examples of what works well.
PNG NRLC Chairman Adrian Chow says they are happy with the continuous support.
Referees, as well as just the weekly expenses in transporting all our teams around the country and providing them with the hotel and all the other expenses that go with managing and running all these franchises in Papua New Guinea.
With such sponsorship, it has helped develop the sport in many ways.
Being a partner and a good sponsor to the competition, to the rugby league family as a whole, from all tiers of the competition. It sponsors from the local league like Port Moresby Rugby League, then to us at the Digital Cup level, and then it promotes in the Hunters. So, you know, it's a company that has been standing alongside all tiers of our program.
The Intercity Cup competition will kick off early next year. Elijah Levet, National MTV Sports.
Don't go away. Trukai Sports continues with more after these messages.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. The PNG Netball Board has announced its training squads for their high performance program for 2019 and 2020. An open and junior division squad has been named.
The senior train-on squad includes members of the current national team, 2017-2018 train-on squads, and the recently selected players from the 2018 Newcrest National Championships in Lae Morobe Province. National selectors have also selected a junior train-on squad comprising of under 13, under 15, under 17 and under 21 at the same event. Netball PNG has embarked on this 5 to 10 year program with a number of areas in focus. They aim to create a player pathway program, create a strong domestic competition and build coaches, umpires and managers. PNG Netball also aims to eventually play in an international semi-professional league in the next 3 years. These teams will start preparing for the 2019 Pacific Games in Samoa, the Nations Cup Series in Singapore and the Pacific Series in Port Moresby. There will be a number of training camps for the juniors over the next 12 months. The juniors will also start preparing to participate at the 2021 World Youth Cup in Fiji. Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
The All Blacks say there's a real buzz in the camp ahead of Sunday's long-awaited clash with England, even bigger than the Lions' anticipation last year. And it's extra special for centre Jack Goodhue, who hasn't played for almost 2 months because of illness.
Back on his feet, fit and displaying his ball skills, Jack Goodhue credits his mum's cooking for helping him recover from glandular fever.
Mum got me on the chicken soup and I bounced back pretty quick, so yeah, I'm feeling 100% now and ready to play.
His coach wanting to see this weekend how he and Sonny Bill Williams fare in the midfield. They've only played together once this season, that was in June.
Sonny's cool under pressure. Yeah, he's always around for a wee offload, which can put you into a bit of space.
And starting Damien McKenzie at fullback, coach Steve Hansen says he wants 2 playmakers on the field.
You know, that boyish youth and enthusiasm that when he first came on, I described him as a fly in a bottle. He's all over the place, but he's got a lot more control now, and. He deserves to be back there, we think, because we want 2 drivers and, he can drive the game from back there.
There's no doubt that playing England at Twickenham after a 4-year gap, also coinciding with Armistice Day commemorations, holds huge prestige.
I think the Lions tour has made it bigger, because we weren't successful. That's made, this week have a sharper edge to it.
Those wanting to see that edge at practice today included a former All Blacks captain. But it's what the edge translates into this weekend that's the real question.
And that wraps up Trukai Sports. Up next, the weather details for the next 24 hours.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A look at the weather forecast in the southern region. Fine and sunny in Port Moresby and Alatau, also Daru. Partly cloudy in Kerema and cloudy weather in Popondetta. In the Mamasa region, showers in Lae and Wau, rain showers in Medang, Wewak and Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, showers in KV and Kokopo-Rabaul, partly cloudy in Lorengau and Kimbe, and showers with thunderstorms in Buka. And in the Highlands region, fog, then cloudy in Mount Hagen, a shower or 2 in Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg. Forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. There's a renewal strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of eastern western Milne Bay Islands to Samari Island to Cape Bogle to Finschhafen through Vitiaz and Dampier Straits to CSE Islands to Long Island and to East and West New Britain. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerema to Yule Island and Hood Point to Samari Island, seas of 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands with waters of Samari Island to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen with waters of Finschhafen through Vitiaz and Dampier Straits to CRC Islands to Long Island with waters of east and west New Britain, seas of 1.5 to 2.5 meters. Waters of Long Island to Madang, to Bogia to Wewak, to Aitape to Vanimo, to northern PNG Indonesian border, seas of 0.5 to 1 meter. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands, and with waters of New Island to Bougainville, seas of 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Now a look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas. In the Coral Sea, seas light to moderate with southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots. In the Solomon Sea, seas rough with southeast winds to southwest winds at 25 to 34 knots. In the Bismarck Sea, seas rather rough with southeast to southwest winds at 20 to 25 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas slight to moderate with southwest to northwest interclockwise winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's the way it is this Friday, the 9th of November 2018. On behalf of myself and the news team, pleasant viewing and good night.